In the heart of the sun-scorched desert, where the horizon shimmered like a distant dream, lived Taza, an Apache warrior whose name meant strong wind. His days were carved from the rugged cliffs and endless sands of his ancestral lands, where he roamed with the spirit of a lone hawk. Taza was no stranger to the ways of survival. His hands, calloused from wielding a bow, could track a deer through the faintest trail of broken twigs. Yet, despite his strength, his heart carried a quiet void, one he never spoke of, even to the elders who gathered under starlit skies. "I never had a wife," he would say, his voice low, as if the words were a confession to the wind. The Apache people revered him, a man of few words but fierce loyalty, yet they saw the shadow in his eyes, a longing he buried beneath his duties. His life was one of solitude, not by choice but by fate, as the wars with encroaching settlers and rival tribes left little room for tenderness. Taza's world was one of sharp edges, the crack of a rifle, the cry of an eagle, the fleeting peace of a desert dawn. He had learned to trust only the land, its rhythms, and the stories whispered by the spirits of his ancestors. But the desert, vast and unyielding, held secrets even Taza could not foresee. One spring, when the cacti bloomed with defiant color, a trading caravan arrived at the edge of Apache territory. Among them was a woman named Leela, her eyes like polished obsidian, carrying a quiet strength that matched the land itself. She was no ordinary traveler. Her presence stirred something in Taza, a ripple in the still waters of his heart. Leela, a weaver from a distant pueblo, had come to trade intricate blankets woven with stories of her people. Her hands moved with purpose, threading tales of resilience into every pattern. Taza watched her from a distance, his warrior's instincts soaring with a curiosity he could not name. Their first meeting was brief, a simple exchange of goods, but her gaze lingered on him, old yet kind, as if she saw the man beneath the warrior. Taza felt the weight of her eyes, a silent question that unsettled him. He turned away, retreating to the cliffs, but the memory of her face followed him like a shadow. That night, under a moon that hung low like a silver coin, Taza sat alone, his thoughts tangled. The elders had spoken of love as a fire that could warm or consume, and he wondered if he was destined to know only its absence. Yet, Leela's presence lingered, a spark in the vast emptiness of his world. 2 days turned to weeks, and the caravan remained, their tents a colorful patchwork against the desert's muted tones. Taza found reasons to visit the trading post, drawn by an unspoken pull. Leela's stall became his destination, though he masked his visits as mere curiosity about her wares. Her blankets told stories of rain gods and starlit journeys, each thread a testament to her skill. Taza, who had never cared for such things, found himself tracing the patterns with his eyes, as if they held answers to questions he dared not ask. Leela spoke little, but her words carried weight, each one chosen with care. She told him of her pueblo, of a life shaped by loss, of her family taken by illness, leaving her to wander and trade. Her story mirrored his own in ways that unnerved him, yet her eyes held no bitterness, only a quiet resolve. Taza, whose life was bound by duty, began to see the world through her gaze, a world where beauty persisted despite pain. Their conversations grew, tentative at first, like a stream finding its path. She asked about the Apache ways, and he shared tales of his people's courage, of battles fought and stars that guided them home. Leela listened, her hands never still, weaving as she absorbed his words. Taza felt a shift within him, a softening of the walls he had built around his heart. One evening, as the sun bled red across the sky, Leela invited him to sit by her fire. She offered him a sip of mesquite tea, its warmth spreading through him like a memory of home. They spoke of small things, of the flight of a hawk, the scent of rain on Sagia, but each word felt like a step towards something larger. Taza, unaccustomed to such moments, felt his guard falter. Leela's laughter, soft and unguarded, was a sound he wanted to hear again. He began to notice the way her hair caught the firelight, the way her hands moved with grace, as if weaving not just blankets but the very fabric of her life. Yet, doubt gnawed at him. He was a warrior, bound to a life of vigilance. Could he dare to dream of more? The desert, with its harsh truths, seemed to warn against such hopes. Still, Leela's presence was a melody he could not unhear, and each encounter left him restless, yearning for something he had never named. As the caravan prepared to depart, Taza faced a choice: to let her vanish into the horizon or to follow the pull of his heart. The wind, his old companion, offered no answers, but Leela's eyes, steady and searching, seemed to hold a promise he could not ignore. 3. The night before the caravan's departure, Taza stood at the edge of his camp, the stars above a map of his ancestors' wisdom. His heart was a battlefield, torn between the safety of solitude and the risk of connection. Leela had become a presence he could not shake, her quiet strength a mirror to his own. He thought of her hands, weaving stories into cloth, and wondered if they could weave a place for him in her world. The Apache way was one of endurance, but Taza began to see that love, too, required courage. He sought the counsel of his grandmother, Nita, whose eyes held the weight of many winters. She spoke of love as a sacred fire, one that could guide or destroy. The heart knows its path, she said, but you must choose to walk it. Her words stayed with him as he made his way to Leela's tent at dawn. The air was cool, the desert hushed, as if holding its breath. Leela was packing her wares, her movements steady but her eyes distant, as if she, too, felt the weight of their parting. Taza stood before her, his warrior's resolve faltering. He spoke haltingly, admitting the void he had carried, the loneliness he had never named. "I never had a wife," he said, the words raw, "but your eyes make me wonder what I've missed." Leela paused, her hands still, and looked at him with a tenderness that made his chest ache. She told him of her own fears, of a life spent moving, never rooting, afraid to lose again. Yet, in his presence, she felt a stillness, a sense of home she had thought lost. Their words wove a fragile bridge between them, each confession a thread in a new pattern. Taza offered her a token, a small stone carved with a symbol of the wind, a piece of his spirit. Leela accepted it, her fingers brushing his, and in that touch, Taza felt a spark that rivaled the desert sun. She agreed to stay a while longer, to see if their paths could align. The caravan left without her, and Taza's heart, once a barren plain, began to bloom with possibility. The days that followed were a dance of discovery, as Taza and Leela learned each other's rhythms. He showed her the hidden springs where the Apache drew water, and she taught him to see the desert through her weaver's eyes, where every color told a story. Their bond grew, rooted in shared silences and stolen glances, a love as resilient as the land itself. 4. As weeks turned to months, Taza and Leela's connection deepened, a quiet fire that warmed the cold nights. The Apache camp, once a place of routine for Taza, now hummed with new meaning. Leela adapted to their ways, learning to grind corn and listen to the elders' tales, her presence a bridge between her Pueblo roots and the Apache world. Taza, in turn, found himself drawn to her craft, watching her weave with the reverence he had once reserved for the hunt. Her blankets became a canvas for their shared story, threads of red for courage, blue for trust, and gold for the hope they dared to nurture. Yet, the desert was not a place of easy promises. Whispers of unrest reached the camp as settlers encroaching closer, their greed for land threatening the Apache way of life. Taza, as a warrior, was called to protect his people, his days filled with scouting and strategy. Leela saw the weight he carried, the way his shoulders tensed under the burden of duty. She offered him solace, her quiet presence a balm to his restless spirit. One evening, as they sat by a stream, Leela spoke of her fear, and not of the dangers around them, but of losing the fragile happiness they had found. Taza, usually stoic, admitted his own fear, that love, like water in the desert, might slip through his fingers. Their vulnerability bound them closer. Each were devoted to face the unknown together. Taza began to teach Leela the Apache ways of survival, showing her how to read the stars and move silently through the brush. She, in turn, taught him to weave, his rough hands clumsy but willing. Their laughter, rare and precious, echoed through the canyons, a sound that made the elders smile. But the shadow of conflict loomed. A raid by rival tribes tested Taza's resolve, pulling him away from Leela for days. When he returned, bloodied but alive, she ran to him, her relief a silent prayer. They stood together under the night sky, the stars bearing witness to a love that defied the chaos around them. Taza realized that Leela was not just a partner but a strength he had never known he needed. Their bond, forged in the crucible of hardship, became a beacon, guiding them through the uncertainty of their world. 5. The seasons shifted, and with them, the challenges grew. The settlers' encroachment intensified, their wagons carving scars across the land. Taz's role as a warrior demanded more of him, pulling him into councils and skirmishes that left little time for the quiet moments he cherished with Leela. Yet, she remained steadfast, her presence a constant in the storm. She began to weave blankets for the Apache children, her designs a blend of Pueblo and Apache symbols, a testament to her place among them. The elders, once wary of an outsider, began to call her daughter of the sun, a name that honored her warmth and resilience. Taza, watching her integrate into his world, felt a pride that rivaled his love for the land. But the weight of his duties gnawed at him. One night, after a heated council where the elders debated war or retreat, Taza sought Leela's counsel. She listened, her eyes steady, and spoke of Balancia of honoring the past while forging a future. Her words, simple yet profound, gave him clarity. He began to see love not as a distraction but as a source of strength, a reason to fight for his people's future. Together, they devised a plan to protect the camp, using Leela's knowledge of trade routes to mislead the settlers. Their teamwork was a dance, each step deliberate, each glance a shared understanding. The plan succeeded, buying the Apache time, and Taz's respect for Leela deepened. She was no longer just the woman who had stirred his heart but a partner in every sense. Yet, the threat of conflict lingered, a shadow over their fragile peace. Leela, sensing Taz's growing burden, proposed a ceremony to honor their bond, a blending of their traditions. Under a full moon, they stood before the elders, exchanging vows in the Apache tongue and weaving a blanket together, its threads a promise of unity. The camp celebrated, their songs rising to the stars, and Taza felt a completeness he had never known. But the desert, ever unpredictable, held one final test, a betrayal by a trusted ally that would force Taza to confront his deepest fears. 6. The betrayal came swiftly, like a snake in the grass. A young warrior, envious of Taza's standing, had shared the camp's location with a rival tribe, hoping to curry favor. The attack came at dawn, arrows raining down as the Apache scrambled to defend their home. Taza fought with the ferocity of a cornered wolf, his thoughts torn between his people and Leela, who had taken shelter with the children. Leela, though no warrior, proved her courage, guiding the young ones to safety through a hidden canyon she had learned from Taza. When the battle ended, the camp was scarred but standing, the rival tribe driven back. Taza found Leela, her face smudged with dirt, her eyes fierce with determination. He pulled her close, his heart pounding with relief and gratitude. The betrayal shook the camp, sowing distrust, and Taza faced the task of rebuilding unity. Leela, with her weaver's patience, helped mend more than blankets as she wove the people together with stories of resilience, reminding them of their shared strength. Taza, inspired by her, spoke to the camp with a newfound clarity, urging them to hold fast to their spirit. The elders, seeing the bond between Taza and Leela, blessed their union formally, declaring it a sign of hope. The couple's love, once a private flame, became a beacon for the Apache, a reminder that even in hardship, beauty could endure. Taza began to dream of a future where his child Rina his and Lilasa would know both the Apache ways and the stories of her Pueblo. The thought filled him with a purpose that transcended the battlefield. Yet, the settlers' threat remained, their numbers growing like a storm on the horizon. Taza and Leela worked tirelessly, scouting and planning, their partnership a blend of instinct and intellect. One night, as they sat by their fire, Leela spoke of a vision, a place where their people could thrive, free from conflict. Her words planted a seed in Taza's heart, a hope for peace that he had never dared to entertain. Together, they began to plan a journey, not just for themselves but for the Apache, toward a new home where their love could take root. 7. The journey was no small feat. The Apache, wary of leaving their ancestral lands, debated fiercely. Taza, with Leela by his side, spoke of survival and not just of the body but of the spirit. Leela's presence, her quiet strength, swayed even the most stubborn elders. They saw in her a reflection of their own resilience, a woman who had lost much yet carried hope like a torch. The camp agreed to move, a decision that weighed heavily on Taza. He felt the ghosts of his ancestors watching, their whispers carried on the wind. Leela, sensing his turmoil, wove a blanket for the journey, its design a map of their past and future, a reminder of what they carried with them. The migration began under a sky heavy with clouds, the Apache moving as one, their footsteps a quiet drumbeat on the earth. Taza and Leela led the way, scouting paths through canyons and across rivers, their bond a compass for the people. The journey was grueling, harsh winds, scarce water, and the ever-present threat of pursuit. Yet, Leela's laughter, soft as a desert breeze, lifted the spirits of the children, and Taza's steady hand guided the warriors. Along the way, they faced trials: a flash flood that nearly swept away their supplies, a skirmish with a rogue band of settlers. Each challenge tested their resolve, but Taza and Leela faced them together, their love a shield against despair. One night, as they camped beneath a cliff, Leela told Taza of her childhood, of a mother who sang to the stars. Taza shared his own memories, of a father who taught him to listen to the wind. Their stories intertwined, a tapestry of loss and hope that strengthened their bond. The Apache began to see them not just as leaders but as a symbol of what could be a future where love and courage walked hand in hand. As they neared their destination, a fertile valley hidden among the mountains, Taza felt a peace he had never known. The land welcomed them, its streams clear, its grasses lush. Leela's eyes, once a spark in the desert, now shone with the promise of home. 8. The valley became their sanctuary, a place where the Apache could rebuild. Taza and Leela worked side by side, planting seeds and raising shelters, their hands shaping a future as they had once shaped each other's hearts. The children laughed again, their voices mingling with the songs of the elders. Leela's blankets adorned the new homes, each one a story of their journey, a testament to their survival. Taza, once a lone hawk, now stood as a pillar of the community, his love for Leela a light that guided them all. The settlers' threat faded, their greed no match for the Apache's resilience. Taza and Leela's union bore fruit: a daughter, named Sani, meaning the dawn, a child who carried the blood of two peoples and the hope of a new day. As Sani grew, Taza taught her the Apache ways, while Leela wove her Pueblo stories into her heart. The valley thrived, a blend of traditions that honored both past and future. Taza, reflecting on his life, realized that the void he had once carried was gone, filled by Leela's love and the family they had built. One evening, as they sat under the stars, Leela took his hand, her eyes as bright as the day they met. "I never had a home," she said, "until I found it in you." Taza, his heart full, replied, "And I never had a wife, until your eyes showed me love." Their story became a legend among the Apache, a tale of a warrior who found his heart in the desert, and a woman whose love wove a new future. The wind, once Taza's only companion, now carried their story across the valley, a whisper of hope that would echo for generations. The Apache thrived, their spirit unbroken, their love a fire that burned bright against the darkness, a testament to the power of two souls who dared to find each other in a world of endless horizons.